Welcome home, brave heroes and brave crafters alike. I'm Ash, this is HashQuest, and this is the crafting episode. Alright, so maybe just a single episode is really not enough to get into the entire crafting realm. But aside from a few painting videos that are on this channel, I don't have a lot devoted to the subject, and yet it is something that I do quite a bit of in my spare time. At least in fits and bursts. I have different projects and I allocate different energies and time to the projects. So when it's time to devote time and energy to crafting, I go all in. And I do craft for a variety of reasons, namely prototyping for homebrew and or other game mechanics. All the stuff that I'm going to be talking about and showing in this video, the materials and the results, which will come a little later, are things that I've gotten for cheap. I don't believe in spending a ton of money for crafting stuff. If you've ever seen like Wylock's Armory's videos, you know, that's the philosophy I try to stick to. No need to get fancy. If it makes you happy, it's enough. But also, we're just making prototypes, so there's always an idea. As long as we can reproduce something, we can make an improved version of it later. Anyways, I'm going to get into my whole catalog of tools, supplies, show you my thought process behind why I have the things that I have and what I do with them. None of the stuff in this video is going to be expensive. It's all stuff you can get at your local Dollar Tree, Dollar General, or your equivalent cheap store in your place of origin in the country in which you currently live. The first and most obvious is my cutting board, and this isn't exactly an invincible cutting board. It's cutting mat. I'm not in here chopping tomatoes on this, as far as you know. I use a rotary cutter on my tomatoes like a real crafter man. So this was $1, and this was before all of the Dollar Trees decided to go to $1.25. So, you know, adjusting for inflation. $1.25 USD. Like I said, it's not going to last forever. This is actually the second one that I've gotten. I did a lot of cutting on the first one, and it was starting to look pretty rough after a few weeks of hardcore cutting, so into the trash it went. I got a couple of replacements. Get yourself a better one if you're going to be doing a lot of cutting. I have the mindset that at some point I'm going to be done making prototypes with this and I won't need it anymore, and if for some reason I do and I've run out of all the cheapy ones, then I've justified buying a more expensive one. Alright, I try to make sure that I have a block of index cards somewhere around here on which to put ideas, or perhaps draw out some doodles. Sometimes these things go hand in hand. I have to have an idea of something and I've got to draw it out on the other side. Sometimes I will take these and actually cut them and make myself cards. So any homebrew project involving cards, I can do some prototyping with that. I can do different sizes if I would like things like hero boards, character boards, things like that. And I'm going to use these for other things too, not just for crafting projects, but sometimes I need to jot down actual official real-life adult notes like bills, or I need to send a letter with an invoice number that's going to go on one of these, so they're going to be handy no matter what. But to that regard, I also have the multicolored pack of index cards, and I did this because I wanted to have varieties of cards that I would then be able to distinguish by their color. And I've done this for my Project F. All of the cards I've made for Project F started out as index cards. These are really flimsy, so I don't recommend making cards out of these if you're planning to like shuffle the cards or treat them like serious cards. Like, here's my deck of monster cards for Project F, and if I want to shuffle these, I basically just have to kind of do this number here. That's a reference deck, not a draw deck, so it doesn't matter. But it can be very handy to have multiple colors. These can really help you organize your thoughts if you've got a lot of complex rules and mechanics that you're kind of thinking about all at the same time, and you can kind of build yourself a board of different rules and put down the pros and cons of each one, pick them up as you like, assign them different colors based on kind of the path that you'd like to go for each set of rules. Get yourself a good pair of scissors. They've got scissors at Dollar Tree, but those are not good. Those are not good scissors. Get some better scissors. $5 or so on some scissors will not set you back. It's not super cost effective, but if you don't plan on using a lot, then this is fine to start out with. You can get yourself some small containers of Mod Podge, one matte, one gloss. You could get both, test them both out on the same thing, see if you like it. If you prefer one or the other, just get that one. And then of course the larger containers you get are not going to cost the same as multiples of the small container equal to the amount in the large. They'll actually be priced at a sort of discount, so it'll be much more cost effective to buy a larger container if you think you're going to be using a lot of Mod Podge. I don't use a lot of it, so buying the small containers as needed will be fine for me. I've got some school glue, but since discovering the Mod Podge, I haven't really used much of this stuff. Both things kind of have the same effect on anything I'm gluing down if I'm using them as adhesives. well, the Mod Podge, if I'm using the Mod Podge as adhesives or even as a sealant on anything paperish, it's going to kind of warp. Some of you likely have tips or tricks on how to avoid that, but if you are going to be pasting together things like this, it's going to want to conform one direction or another, depending on what side you've got the Mod Podge on. So I would try my best to put down the edges, maybe just do the center, let that dry while you have something weighted down on all four corners of the thing you're trying to seal or Mod Podge or glue, whatever. Then when that's completely dry and not tacky at all, place a heavy weight on the center and do around the edges. You could also take things and flip them upside down, weigh them from the other side, but then whatever you're gluing is going to stick to the thing that you're pressing it against. All right, equally handy are these graphed index cards. I had to have these because, I mean, there you go. They're tiles. You can immediately draw whatever you would like on these spaces. You can map out, if you like, entire dungeons. And you saw me use a red ultrafine 0.5 pen to draw that out. The 0.5s, really nice. These are usually sold in a pack. And I actually don't remember if I got these at one of the dollar stores. I think that I did though. I think I got a pack of one red, one black, one blue. And the 0.5 tip means that you're going to have this nice readable line on whatever it is that you're illustrating on. And you can, of course, use different colors to signify different things and make things very readable if you're going to be referencing this stuff a lot. The graph index cards, very handy. Highly recommend them. And yes, you could prototype with these if you're trying to make some sort of modular dungeon deck. So same thing, they're not going to be super sturdy, but they're perfect for prototyping on. So you can make your own dungeon deck or deck of many dungeons or what have you, and then go ahead and just mess around. Just mess around and find out. I use them for prototyping, very Tin Helm-esque mechanics where you've got a dungeon room on one side and on the other side you've got numbers indicating what's in that dungeon room. But the numbers on the back of the card don't pertain to the same card. You draw another card to determine what's going to be on that portion of the map that you drew for the first card and so on. Yeah, here we go. Don't ask me to get too much into details on these. These are part of an experiment. All right, what are these? These don't have any lines on them. That's because these are from a different pack, and these are from Dollar General, but you will probably find something equivalent in the craft section of your local store. These are just squares of something a little bit heavier than craft paper. I hesitate to call them cardstock because it's just not got that kind of heft to it or that kind of snap, but they are objectively stronger than your index cards. I got like 5 cards here, and this is still stronger than that. These cut really well. And you can cut them down into card sizes, and at some point you're going to realize that you're tired of cutting with scissors. It's not the most accurate thing, it's not the straightest way. And then you're going to say, well, Ash, I knew that's why you had the roller. No, that's not why I have the roller. I have this for that sort of job. And if you had a guillotine, oh man, I do this every time. I said it one way one time, somebody corrected me, and now I can't remember which way it is. If you have one of those paper cutters, cha-cha, that's going to be a lot easier than using this and a lot more accurate, but I have one of these. The reason I say accurate is because the beheading machine will cut in a straight line in the same way, almost at the same time, and it's very clean. And this is a little bit less clean. It's a blade that's going to travel along the length of whatever it is you're trying to cut, and this needs to stay sharp, which it won't stay sharp forever. Now I'll just show you. If you try to cut an index card with one of these, even if you're applying very moderate, respectable pressure to the cutting blade, you're gonna get this, because this stuff was not meant to be shredded like that. You're gonna have a furry edge to your cards. But if you're using this lovely cardstock here, you're not gonna have that at all. This stuff is heavier. It can take this kind of punishment, and it's very clean. You might find that going one direction works better than another. Bottom line, the better quality the stock of card, the better it'll cut. But this is like the cheapest of all of these kinds of cutters that I could find. I think this one was like $5. It might be $7 now at Dollar General specifically, but it's got a really handy lift up capability. This is not replaceable that I know of. It's certainly Seems like you could get in there and replace it, but I don't know where to find replacement blades, so I'm not worried about it. I'll just buy another one if this one wears out, and when I do, I'll make sure to buy a better one, because they have these at Walmart as well. Obviously, this one's a specific size because I didn't need it to be much bigger, but if you want a bigger one, that usually means they will be better ones, and that might be a lot more useful to you. Okay, so I just had to have these because they're pre-tabbed for my convenience. I haven't used them yet for anything. I will note that they are better quality than the normal index cards that I've bought. Don't know what's up with that. That's pretty cool though. Again, haven't used them yet, so I can't really recommend how to use them. But we have actually 9 different kinds of cards here. Did I say 9? We have 12 different kinds of cards here. We have green, blue, pink, and yellow, and we have tabs on left, tabs in center, and tabs on right for each color. So this could prove to be very useful. I don't know what for yet. Organization for sure, notes for sure, don't know what else. All right, so I've gone through most of my tools. At this point, you might be wondering what this is for, and I don't know if you've spied these, but we'll get into the rolling cutter here in just a second. First, I want to go over these guys and why they have any sort of use whatsoever. You can find these in the office section or stationery section of any store, and yes, these are at Dollar Tree as well. You'll take your clip just like this, and then you'll take some cardstock, and then you'll make that noise out of the way. You'll make yourself a door shape of some kind. Maybe you'll just use scissors like I did here on this gray cardstock, thin cardstock, and then draw the door. Then my friend, you can take one of these lovely clips, bend them back, open them up, place them on the door, insert the door all the way into the base, and then you can just give these a little squeeze, and those will come right out, and now you have a door. You have made a door. That's it. It balances perfectly well. It's not going to fall over unless you tip it over like I just did. In fact, it's so bottom heavy compared to the door material that it has a better chance of staying upright on your board than even the official HeroQuest doors. I don't want this mat in the background to confuse anybody, particularly new viewers to the channel. If you are new, welcome. It's great to have you here. This is Ian Schofield's beautiful dungeon mat, which is printed out on a neoprene mat provided by Inked Gaming, and I use it as a backdrop for pretty much as many videos as I can, or I'll cycle between this and another beautiful dungeon mat from Ian Schofield, so it's kind of a permanent little part of the channel. Anyways, as you can see, I've made a few doors like this, and I've used these doors to prototype things, because why not? I've also got some double wide doors here. I didn't bother to draw the door on these two. There we go. Double wide door, closed. Somewhere around here I've got this exact same thing, but I went ahead and cut out the center of it so it's an open double wide door, and that's just one way you can make double wide doors for your HeroQuest game or other board games as well. And yeah, same thing, you'll just take a slightly larger clip this time, place it in there, and then you can take out those things, or if you don't want to, you can just fold them back up over the door. Gives a little bit more sturdiness if that's a thing that you need. It makes it less prone to being knocked over by forces of wind. Probably not really a threat to you. But if you don't want to fiddle around with taking the clips out, putting them back in and everything, you can just do it this way. Also, it is going to cover up your door artwork if you care about that. If not, don't worry about it. How would you signify an open door? You can replace the closed door with an open door drawing. You can take this out, and then just this little base now will be where your open door was, either with the clips in or with the clips out. Matte photo board. Does that mean anything to you? I'll put a picture of it on the screen right now if I'm not a terrible editor. This is the stuff. I don't have any left that's in its raw form to show you, so that's why I'm not just showing you. But it looks like this, and this is the reason why I have the roll cutter. Now, I got this rolling cutter from Dollar Tree, again, $1.25. It is an incredible quality, a great size, very ergonomic. It's wonderful, and it's so much better than the last one that I had. This is a 45mm blade. The last one that I had, it was much smaller, much flimsier, and it had the smaller standard blade size. But essentially, these work when you press them against paper. This shield will draw back, and the blade will stay stationary, and it will spin as you press the blade into your paper. It's not a super accurate way of cutting anything unless you've got a straight edge along which you can cut. This one's a little bit better though. The handle gives you more control. The blade is much bigger, so it's easier to keep steady. You still want to use a straight edge, but this one's got an additional feature where it's got these buttons. Push both of the buttons, you can draw the guard back. That's a feature of some of these as well. I don't know, I've only owned 2. I owned the one that they sold at Dollar Tree before this one, and now I own this one. These are currently in stock at my local Dollar Tree. I don't know if you're going to get one this good of a quality at your Dollar Tree. I thought it was awfully strange to see them there, so I definitely picked up 2 because I thought this must be some fluke or some limited release type thing. But these cut into the photo board very, very well. This stuff is used primarily as a border or backing in your photo frames. It's not canvas, and it is paper that's just pressed, so it can get wet. But it doesn't cut super well with some tools. It cuts really, really well if you use a rotary cutter like this one. It does take the ink from things like markers really well. So you can write on them, you can draw on them, you can take markers and color them directly. I have done all of these things. It works out really well. You can also take paper and glue the paper on. So if you have things that you have made using your cardstock, you can glue the cardstock onto the tile. That's what I have done here. Glued my cardstock onto the tile after illustrating the cardstock, getting some nice straight lines going, thickening the lines by hand wherever I saw a need so that I could create more varied tiles. And now I have tiles that you can place onto your HeroQuest board. This one's sized a little bit funny. Not going to fit exactly within the board because, again, prototyping, testing. But that's the idea that I had as soon as I saw the cardstock from Dollar General. And now I can go over the cardstock a little bit more because I didn't give it nearly enough screen time. This stuff is sized, or should be sized, pretty much 6 by 6 inch. So with a little bit of tweaking, you could make these into your own rooms. You could make these into your own large rooms, or you could cut them down with the tools that I have specified here. And you could make yourself smaller rooms to go in spots over the board. And because the pack that I show here is multiple colors, I can't believe I just skimmed right over this pack. I'm so sorry. You have about 20 different shades here. I think it ended up being 6 cards per shade, and some of them are very, very close. Like I had multiple greens, I have multiple light blues or cyans, and like these are close together, but they are not the same. This one's different than this one. Light blue to a royal blue to a sort of a midnight blue, and then a deep purple to violet. That's not the purple. This is the purple, the unabashed purple. There's different shades of yellow, tan, brown, different shades of pink, or I guess salmon and coral if you're trying to be very technical. We've got white. There was gray. I've used all my gray, tan, brown. I've used all of different colors so that I could make very specific card decks. So if you are trying to cut these down, using one of these will work really well, unless you've got a beheading tool. That'll probably work way better even. You could do multiples at the same time. You cut one way, and then you could take your 2 strips, stack them on top of each other, and then cut the other way to get 6 cards out of each one of these. You could do 6 cards, you could cut them into quarters and get 4 square cards. I would probably not do it that way, but I mean, to each their own. And you could leave them intact if you're trying to make dungeon rooms like this one, or like any of these. These are all dungeon implements that I have made using the cards and the matte paperboard. So I could get the natural gray without having to color it gray by having the gray paper, and then I would just draw in the lines for the grid, the tiles, and then draw borders so that we have walls implied. The reason that these 3 don't have walls on the edges is because I wanted them to be like corridors that led straight from one room to another room that's not adjacent like this. So now the corridor behind doesn't exist, but now these 2 rooms are linked, and as soon as you step into one of these 2 rooms, everything in both rooms gets revealed. And as you can see, this is curved just a little bit because I did not bother to weigh these down, because again, didn't care, prototyping, rushing through, making stuff. I've got corner rooms, and I've got different kinds of corner. I've got the kind of corner that I cut out, and then the kind of corner that I left intact after making the square. So I could try different feels with this. If you want to use this sort of corner, you could go ahead and say that this is a wall. If you're making a modular dungeon is built as you explore system like Warhammer Quest, or you could say that this is a pit. It is a never-ending fall, since none of the other tiles that I've made have this black wall, unless you are counting strictly the thicker outline across all of the tiles. I know it gets a little bit awkward either way, so it's a convention that you would have to establish and then stick to, and then it would feel normal and intuitive. Other tiles that I have made include this guy, and yeah, he's 6x6 and he fits perfectly right here on the center of the board. We've got the implication here that there are 3 rooms nesting inside one another right here in the middle of the corridors. If you wanted to, you could make a really long and especially frustrating set of corridors, which I really would not advise doing because that's not really my idea of fun. But I mean, again, you do you. You could also say that this is the topmost vantage point in a sort of pyramid shaped structure. And now any entity that is standing on top of this is going to have an advantage on the entities adjacent to it if they are on a lower level or a lower level still, or if they're in the corridors. And I would probably put goblin archers up here. There's that. You could also invert that idea and say that the more you step onto this, the lower this goes down until you get to the bottom. And then you've got a disadvantage where there's a treasure down there that you have to get. That adds a little bit of implied 3-dimensionality to your board, to your quest. It introduces or maintains a height difference mechanic in combat, and it just opens up the idea that you've got different things going on. It's not just a standard, straightforward dungeon with no stairs unless you're using the Keller's Keep stairs every time. You can do stuff like this too, where this room is encroaching a little bit on this one. They are different rooms. There's the black outline right here. It's the same concept as this room cutting into this room, but our corridor is intact. It's still legal. Our corridor here stops here. This room covers this room. It encroaches a little bit on this room. All still very legal. Doesn't look like it matches aesthetically, but thematically it's gonna be fine. I've made a lot of rooms like this to test my own game systems out and just to see what would happen if I decided to do something like this. This here is 2 corridors now and a center room that is really just 2 rooms, or these could be larger corridors. They don't have to be rooms at all, necessarily. Got some other configurations here. This wasn't even going to be part of a dungeon. This is more of a tavern where we've got our bar wide open, nice, and then we've got the inn, and we've got 3 different rooms available to patrons at the inn, and they've got sort of warm colors to represent that we need to take a break, boss. We've been journeying for days. This blue in here, you could use this to represent water. Not really what I was going for. I just needed to use different colors for different rooms because I wanted to refer to the rooms by color from Dungeon Building Card Deck. That's why this card says beige here in the lower right-hand corner. This black spot in the middle could be a wall. It could be a pit. If I wanted it to be a wall specifically, I probably would have left it open, but I wanted it to be a pit. Also, I drew these lines horizontally, so it kind of looks like stairs, but it's not stairs. At least it wasn't meant to be stairs. You know what was meant to be stairs? This tile right here. I made 2 sets of stairs here on the single tile, which I made with the matte photo board and nothing else. I just drew directly on the board this time. So I've got curved stairs, which can go into the center of the room. Flip that over, we have straight stairs that lead down. I like my stairs very much, thank you. There's some other things that I haven't used yet that I got, like this really shiny paper. I realized I could probably get a hole punch and take these and maybe glue them together, let them dry, then take the hole punch and go through and make myself gold coins. Definitely something you could do if you want your gold coins to be double-sided. If you're only going to use one side, you can just hole punch through both of them like this and get double the coins with half the effort. We could do the same thing with rubies, sapphires, emeralds, silver coins. If you've got an X-Acto knife and you're pretty keen at cutting, you could go ahead and cut out suits of armor, whatever you want, weapons, blades of glory. All right, it's quite ill lit over here, but I'm just going to give you a quick tour of my crafting shelf. This is where I keep my 3D printer, which is currently inoperable. For now, I've got some stuff up here, some supplies to help me out with that. And then I've got just one of these nice 3 cube tall, 2 cube wide shelves from Wal Mart or pretty much whatever department store you can get them from. This cube is where I keep all of the materials that I just showed you. This cube is housing all of my houses, no pun intended. This cube is where I'm going to make my giant HeroQuest dice. All of my wood stuff is here as well. All of my Jenga blocks, falling tower blocks, all of the wooden cubes, wooden square pieces that I've gotten from Dollar Tree, beveled square pieces, wooden dowels, dice, barrels, you name it. If it's made of wood, I have it in here if it's for crafting. And then I've got some sandwich bags as well, because those always come in handy for whatever. Here are some remnants of projects, and this is also where I keep my glues, my cements, my adhesives. The lowest right corner is where I keep my Hot Wheels containers and this board that I got, which is extremely sturdy and really useful for a variety of projects around the house, not just game stuff. I've also got a foam exercise block that I got at Five Below. I don't know what I'm going to do with that yet, but it was gray and it reminded me of dungeon stone, so I got it just in case I want to cut into it. And then the lowest left shelf is where I have my miniatures, which I've currently pulled out, my unpainted miniatures, and all of my paints. But yeah, all of that fits right back into that cube, so no worries there. And so that's pretty much it for now. I hope you enjoyed that taste, that introduction, really, of all of my crafting materials, what goes through my head while I'm crafting, why I'm crafting anything, and what the process is for me. And if you've got any tips or tricks, be sure to share them down below. If there's anything at all that you'd like me to go more in depth on, any part of this video whatsoever, be more than happy to make a video where I just hyper focus on one of the different topics, or I just spend the whole video making cards and what's my thought process making a card deck and what should go on the cards. Anything like that. I've got a lot more that I have done that I want to show you, but now is not the time for that. There's still a lot of work to be done with the stuff that I have worked on. But if you are interested, I am working on game projects and I post the updates to a channel pretty regularly, sort of in my Discord. So that's one of the member perks that you can get. You get to kind of see the end game with this stuff and how I'm planning on using it. This is a pretty interesting angle. I could get used to this. I'm not even talking in this microphone. I'm on my Rode now. I've got a whole shelf over there of stuff, and the top shelf is all mine. Need that camera to come lower, but I can't really be bothered to mess with it right now. So instead, I'll get lower. Anyways, thank you very much, Brave Heroes, for your kind attention this episode. Please let me know what you thought of anything here down below. Maybe you've got some helpful advice for me. Maybe this sort of content is a complete waste of time and you do not ever want to see this on the channel again. Either way, I would like feedback. Until next time, brave adventurers, I hope you have a great rest of your day and I will catch you in the next exciting adventure. Until then, farewell for now.